Well, let's continue with our technical English workshop and course. We have seen that in this first part, we have given a foundation, an essential one, on what the structure in the English sentences is. This is for you to know and for you to remember, because actually you already know that. You have taken courses, you have studied English for some semesters at the university, and of course you are very familiar with those conceptions. This is for you to actually remember and for you to have remembrance and actually a wider knowledge on those components that the English sentences have. And now, by continuing with this, let's go to some other words and other terms that constitute part of the sentences in English, and we need to provide a definition. We need to provide a definition with respect to what those terms are. The first essential component is the noun. So we are going to talk about the noun. What is a noun? Well, a noun is simply a word that refers to people, places, things, substances, ideas, non-material ideas, feelings, etc. Nouns can be common nouns, they can also be proper nouns. We also have concrete nouns. And we also have abstract nouns. And taking into account the ones whose structure enables them for them to be accompanied by numbers or not by numbers, we are going to have another division, which is countable nouns and non-countable nouns. Okay? Well, common nouns, the ones that in a very general form refer to the ideas we have already mentioned. For example, table, cat, and country. Let me do it better. Country. Okay? Proper nouns. Proper nouns will refer to nouns that have a specific name. They will and are actually recognized by a name. And these are, for example, Fred, England, Australia, etc. Proper nouns. Concrete nouns. Nouns whose essence we can perceive by our senses. We can touch them. We can feel them. For example, car. Taking the names and the nouns that we referred to some minutes ago, these are actually concrete nouns too. Car, cat, table. We can also say book, marker, and those are concrete nouns. Abstract, the ones that refer to non-material ideas. Let's say, for example, feelings. Let's say, for example, sensations. Those are abstract nouns. For example, love. For example, tenderness. And many other ones, right? Okay, countable nouns. We have already learned, but we will remember that countable terms or nouns are the ones that can receive and that can be related to numbers. They can be expressed in plural because they can be expressed in terms of quantities. We can refer to them in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. As we can say, for example, 1 car, 2 tables, 3 apples, etc. So we can say apple, table, student, etc. And we also have non-countable nouns, and those are the nouns starting from which we cannot refer to in terms of amounts, quantities, numbers, because it is not possible to use exactly a number for you to refer to an amount of them. For example, sugar. We don't say 1 sugar, 2 sugars, 3 sugars, etc. because we can't. Actually, that is a non-countable term. Another one, for example, is water. Another one, for example, is salt. We cannot say 1 water, 2 waters, 3 waters, okay? No, because numbers are not directly associated to them. And salt, the same situation, we cannot say 1 salt, 2 salts, etc. Those are non-countable nouns. Essentially, nouns are the words having to do with everything we can refer to in terms of places, things, people, ideas, substances, etc. Okay? Well, that is the idea related to nouns. Now we will continue with another word. And those words are the adjectives. The adjectives. What is an adjective? Well, it is exactly a term that is going to refer to a noun in order to describe it. It usually answers the question, what kind? What kind? Okay? Because it refers to and attaches, actually grants, characteristics, features, and qualities to the nouns. For example, tall. For example, short, hot, etc. Okay? Adjectives. We are going to see and appreciate several forms starting from which adjectives can appear in sentences. First, when we need to take into account that when they have no connection with the verb directly, a little separation is established by the adjective and the noun in the sentence, specifically taking into account the verb to be, we will find that the structure adjectives and nouns have in English is the same we have in our Spanish. So we can say something like this. Fred is tall. So, Fred, which is the noun in the sentence, appears first. Tall, which is modifying or attaching characteristics to Fred, is the adjective. It appears in the same form sentences appear in Spanish. Fred is tall. And there is, according to what I said, a little separation between the two terms starting from the verb to be. Okay? But we also need to take into account that when there is no separation between the adjective and the noun, we have a different structure. And this is something we need to really remember, because many students have usually the trend to forget that significant structure. When there is no separation, the adjective appears first, and then the noun will come later. That is why in English we don't say, this is a car white, but this is a white car. According to what I said, no separation is established between the adjective and the noun. So it modifies, the adjective modifies directly the noun, and no separation is exerted over there starting from any verb, and we find that the adjective must come first. White car. So never say car white, but white car. This is something to be taken into account. In the same way, for example, we can say Colombia, or beautiful country, Colombia is a large country. No separation is established between large and country, so large modifies country directly, and that is why the adjective has to appear first and the noun comes later. Colombia is a large country and not Colombia is a country large. I'm addressing teachers, you already know that, but you need to remember it. For your speech, both when speaking and writing, to be enhanced all the time. Colombia is a large country. Okay, now, taking into account the way adjectives can appear in the sentences in English, in general, we find that there is what we call a positive degree of the adjective when no intention for you to compare is displayed. And this is a tangible example for it. Colombia is a large country. No intention for us to compare Colombia with another country is seen over there. Only the fact of mentioning that our country has a quality. The quality is, in that case, large. But, for example, when we say Argentina is look at this. Argentina is than Colombia. Now, we have the need to compare two countries. Well, sometimes our speech is going to place us in that regard, in that context. Sometimes we will have the need to compare countries, compare items, compare people, compare actually whatever we want. And in this case, adjectives have to appear in another structure. So we say Argentina is larger than Colombia. Larger. This is a structure. This is this is an ending that is put after large, and it has to do with the fact of comparing two items. Argentina is larger than Colombia. This is Colombia and this is Argentina, larger. One of them has the same quality as the other one, but in a superior degree. Okay? And then, after comparisons, we can also we can also refer to sentences in English. When we refer to nouns, and we want to refer to one of them in terms of having a quality in a superior degree, but not only with respect to other ones, not only with respect to another one, I will say that better, but with respect to all the other members that constitute that group. So in that case, we have to use a structure which is the superlative. Okay, and that is the other structure starting from which sentences can have adjectives. We say, for example, Brazil is the largest country in South America. Brazil is the largest country in South America. Now what we have one term not only being superior than another one, okay, or larger, or better, or colder, or hotter, whatever the adjective we are referring to is, but this has a quality in a superior degree, but with respect to all the other members that constitute that group. And the group can be, remember, made up by 5 items, by 10 items, by at least 3 items, or 1,000 items, or 100, etc. It depends on what constitutes our context to refer to that item. This is essentially what has to do with adjectives. Of course, there are rules. I'm not going to go into depth with respect to what are the rules for you to obtain correct comparatives, correct superlatives. This is not exactly what corresponds to our workshop now. You have already studied that. But I'm just remembering and reminding you on the fact that adjectives can appear starting from 3 different structures in the sentences. When the degree is positive, when the degree is comparative and when the degree is superlative. Of course, in the case of the comparative, we can have other two ways to compare. When we want to compare taking into account inferior perspectives, and when we compare establishing equality comparisons. I'm going to give an example to one of them, actually to both of them too. For example, Colombia is less large than Argentina. Now, one more time, the two items are compared, but the criteria we apply now for such a comparison to emerge is an inferior perspective. And another one can be, for example, Colombia is as large as Venezuela. Colombia is as large as Venezuela, okay? Maybe not exactly, but maybe Colombia is a little larger. But anyway, this is just an example. Colombia is as large as Venezuela. Shows us that the two items have the same quality and at the same level too. So equality is a criterion applied here for the comparison to be made. Well, we're going to continue with other terms, and thank you for your attention once more.